My name is Anik Khan, and I vote because I have to, because my story doesn't permit me not to. I moved from Dhaka, Bangladesh when I was 4 years old, and I didn't get my green card until I was 15 years old. Immigration isn't just as simple as, oh, what? They just gotta go through the paperwork, they'll be fine. There's systematic things in place that stop people from being able to prosper the way they should when they're the ones working the hardest.
Super fast. Super fast.
In 2020, I put out my first single in 2 years. Regardless was born out of all of these hurdles and all of these missed opportunities and everything making me feel like I should stop. And a lot of fans in my community and a lot of peers in my industry always wonder why I haven't been consistent. It's hard to want to work on music when you're consistently being denied, when you're consistently trying your best to take advantage of opportunities that are presented to you, and you can't because of your legal status.
Someone open the borders, let me get shit in order. Number 4 on the charts, I couldn't go cross the water. From rodents and roaches to go looking gorgeous, I put work in my city, they trying to make me a tourist. I tell her.
At a certain point in my life, I was thinking no matter what I've done for my city, no matter what I've done for my borough, they still didn't want me here. I have been very much involved in my community, and regardless of that, I felt like I wasn't accepted from the government. So I applied for my citizenship at the end of the Obama administration. Once I completed my background check, I was given a date to go take my citizenship test. And usually when you pass the test, they either hand you your date of oath or they tell you it will be in the mail within a month, maybe 3 max. It took me 2 years.
I'm holding on by a thread.
It is not so much that the actual laws are being changed by the Trump administration. It's all of the small bureaucratic ways that it's happening at every level and with every agency. They are being encouraged, if not rewarded, to scrutinize applications in ways that were never seen before, deny applications for more arbitrary reasons, and a new consequence of a denial is that somebody can be now placed into a removal proceeding. Under Trump, what we've seen is that ICE is more indiscriminate. There is less to no prosecutorial discretion at all. So people with green card holders, with green cards that have been here for a substantial amount of time, who has extensive family ties, community ties, if they have even minor criminal history, they are subject to ICE detention and to deportation. I don't mean to say this to panic anyone, but we are not able to advocate for people in the same way because everybody is kind of a target under the Trump administration.
I put out my first EP called Kites in 2017. Kites, sonically, is a tribute to Queens, New York City and all its cultures.
The project was inspired by my specific story, which is a version of the South Asian immigrant narrative we don't hear about. It was about the ups and downs of being a working class 20-something brown man finding his place in New York City.
Pull up, get the flex and count my blessings, like mashallah, mashallah.
Off the back of Kites, I was able to be on my first nationwide tour as a support act for Jadena. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do the international dates because I was in that limbo between my green card expiring and my date of oath not being given to me.
I'm the one who put it on my back though. I'm the one who's showing off the ankle.
In 2018, I released a record called Big Facts, which is my biggest record to date.
Get it to the bank, close facts, bro. Facts, bro, these are all facts. Big tunes, big checks, big racks, bro.
When I first dropped Big Facts, I was at my highest. We had 2 different billboards, one in Times Square, one in my neighborhood, in the story of where I grew up, that said, "Damn, it feels good to be an immigrant." I surprised my parents and I walked them over to the billboard in Times Square.
Damn, it feel good to be an immigrant. When we order lunch, it's only chili shrimp.
No more cabs. No more cabs.
Within that moment, being able to look at my father and tell him that he doesn't need to drive a cab any longer was everything I've ever worked for.
Rolling in, all of it is pouring out, it's pouring in. Give me mine, lead the night, I keep the truth, I burn the lies.
The pre-migration itself is extremely traumatic. What causes people to become so desperate to just pick up, get on a plane and leave everything that's familiar to you just because it's a life and death issue? And expecting them to come to the US, find a pro bono attorney and apply for asylum is kind of completely unrealistic. When you're trying to pay rent, send your children to school, access healthcare, but that's what the system demands you to do. But how does one live the American dream when every day in the morning you get up and the first thing you think about is, am I going to have enough food for my kids this month?
Denied, they tore up my design. All of my life been in denial. Brown to black, black to brown. Super facts.
I'm glad we're sitting here having this conversation.
Yeah, same.
Talking about my favorite place in the world. The land of the immigrants, the land of the foreign. We came here, we moved to lower income apartments in Astoria, and we had no idea about EBT, welfare, Section 8. If anything, my dad and mom just worked extra jobs and did double shifts to take care of what they thought they were supposed to do in the first place.
You think about the amount of hours like our parents worked growing up and how little I saw both of my parents growing up and how much of that just like time that kids should have with their parents was robbed from us in this country because they're working hard just to make ends meet so we could have food on the table. As working class immigrants, and especially Bengali folks, there's this lack of awareness. How is our system sort of designed to marginalize us? And it's designed so folks who are coming in have a hard time. But what that means in terms of some of the things Trump has passed in terms of like the public charge rule, making it hard for people who want to change their status and to get a green card, that means that now immigration agencies will look at, well, have you used any public services? Are you a burden to the public? How much money do you have in your bank account? Did you ever use like free healthcare? Did you ever get food stamps? And so suddenly, because of this rule, immigrants now are like, oh crap, like we shouldn't access these services because if I try to apply for my green card, this is gonna screw me over because they're gonna look at this.
Super facts.
With Kites and Big Facts, all of these doors were opening for me. All of these opportunities were being presented. But because of my immigration status, I wasn't able to take advantage of them. I had the number 4 record on the UK Viral Top 50 and the number 6 record on the US Viral Top 50. The program director of BBC called me personally to ask me to come to London to do a show. Anytime and every time I tried to leave the country, whether it was Amsterdam or Portugal or India, my visa was denied. Here's an international artist that makes international music but can't travel internationally. So what's the point?
Is this idea of being stuck. You're clearly there, seeing this is my country, this is my home, yet I'm not getting the same opportunities that my peers are getting.
Denied, I'm falling behind. I wanna inspire, but they will not let me fly. Okay.
No matter how much I tried by myself, no matter how much I made my calls or checked in with the USCIS, all they had for me was pending. Luckily, because of the name that I was able to make for myself and the resources that I now have and the network that I now have, I was able to work with someone who works at a Senate office in Ohio, and she directly contacted the New York Senate office for me, and they were able to take my case head on. I was wildly happy, but I also had this huge guilt of how many people don't have that opportunity.
Super facts.
I think it is safe to say that if Anik family members were coming into the United States today, into this political climate, that their extremely meritorious political asylum claim could have been denied. And that's really, really sad to even think about. What happens is that the higher courts or the appellate courts will use those legal terms and define them a little bit differently than how they are defined by statute or by regulation, and continuously up the ante on what is necessary to prove for all of those things. The saddest thing is losing cases on ridiculous legal terminologies like that, when you know that the actual truth of the matter is that someone will be deported and tortured or killed. whether or not that fits neatly into what a judge's perception is of their persecution.
A lot of people think this is something that just started with these 4 years, when this is something my family as well have been dealing with our entire lives. What do you think are some of the policies that have been around for a long time that certain people consider new right now?
The detention. I think detention has really shocked people, that you could be imprisoned and not have a right to a lawyer, not have a right to a speedy trial. In fact, in some circumstances, not even have the right to a trial at all. And you can just be literally locked away by the US government without any recourse, without any help, is often very shocking. But really, we've seen the detention numbers really skyrocket, I would say, since 2003. Fundamentally, we just have a really broken immigration system that doesn't reflect who we are as a country. It doesn't reflect our values. And it's premised still on very racial segregated lines. And, you know, and every visa that's not issued, that's a company that's waiting for an employee to come. That's a family member waiting for a loved one. That's somebody's dreams and hopes that are being, you know, suspended. And that's also the trust in America as a country, as a symbol that's being eroded.
Look at what we've made. Make sure when we plant these seeds, we go against the grain.
You always say that we're a country of immigrants, but just look around you. Not everybody is visible.
The American dream does not exist for non-citizens right now under this administration. What they see, especially if they are Black and brown immigrants coming to this country, is that there is struggle.
I remember my father calling me, and he was like, "Hey, I got a surprise for you." And I was like, "What?" And he sent me a picture, and I look, and it was a letter for my date of oath. As soon as I got my date of oath, I went back to the studio and recorded 3 different projects that I am finally ready to share, and finally ready to tell my story, because ain't nobody take my shit away from me anymore.
It's about my ting. Yeah, that's my ting. Hey, this the lingo. Who want the link? Hey, look at my ooh. Look at my hit up my hit up my kinda like we know. Who want the link?
In October 2019, my business partner Anik hit me and said, we got an opportunity to perform at a Bernie Sanders rally with AOC. This rally took place at the park in Queensbridge Projects, which is the largest projects in all of America. Countless amount of Bengali families live in that project. So the story really came full circle, because here's this son of a freedom fighter, Bengali immigrant from Astoria, Queens, who literally made something out of nothing, performing in front of the largest projects in America that neighbors his neighborhood of his own in Astoria, for AOC and Bernie Sanders.
Let me begin by thanking our great musicians, Anik Khan.
So there's this thing that we have. If we yerb, somebody has to yerb out. I'll give you an example. Are you ready? Yerb!
Yeah.
Brown excellence, bitch, came together like Voltron. Now it's Mashallah Mafia, oh Lord, oh Lord.
This is the first year in my 27 years of living in this country that I'm going to be able to vote. If this story has touched you in any way, vote for the people who can, and vote for me 2 years ago.